Hey guys, welcome back here to part 2 of Oasis Bay, my water coaster build. And as you can see here off camera, I've gone in and put some very basic building structures down just to give myself an idea of where those buildings are going to be placed, where they're going to go, to give myself an idea as well of the flow of the map and the paths and etc. So today I'm going to be doing like this big tower. I did the first one, the archway over the lift hill, and there's going to be a second tower now that's going to go up over the lift hill as well. And also I'm going to do a little bit of one of the village type town market buildings as well. So I'm going straight in there and kind of taking away those basic shapes that I put down, and I'm going to start going in with more textures and more detail. So I'm using this really cool like brick texture which came with the DLC, the Taste of Adventure. There's some really cool pieces in that DLC if you haven't got it already. Some really nice wall textures and building pieces. So I'm just using that there as the base. To start off with these kind of buildings, I just do a very simple shape. So I'm going to do the basic square of the tower, and then you can start adding things on top, details, little bits that stick out, windows, that kind of thing. But it's always good to give yourself like a canvas to work on first. Sometimes doing detailed buildings can be a little bit overwhelming. And if I said to you I knew what I was doing, I would be absolutely lying to you, because I do literally build by trial and error. I say that all the time, but I really do just kind of see where it takes me. I don't know what I'm doing. I have an idea, like a basic idea in my head. Again, using some reference photos that I'm looking at from various theme parks. Tokyo Disneyland, Disney Sea has the Arabian coast area, which is like a perfect use for reference. So that's really great to look at for this build as well. But yeah, I'm basically just putting some things together, looking at what looks good. Sometimes I take pieces away, add pieces, until I'm happy with the results and what I've got. This like roof piece I found, this square roof piece, which is resizable, I found out to be so helpful, and it's really cool for this build because I can really easily put down some like wall trims and stuff in one go using that piece. I'm doing different kind of levels on the roofs and stuff. You'll see what I mean as I'm building on, but they come in really handy for detailing. And these pillars as well are really helpful as well for getting that really thick kind of pillar border look. So that's really cool. And also this mod set, I can't remember what the name is, but it has some really awesome roof pieces which really fit to the theme and the style that I'm going for. So I'm so happy I found that. All these different onion domes and shapes for like Arabian style roofs, etc. So great. Love that I found that. So yeah, just adding some border trims now around the outside of the building, kind of seeing where I'm going to take it from there. The queue line comes around this as well, and the queue line is also kind of it's going to weave through the market area. So I'm just giving this like building a little bit more of a base, kind of building extra bits on the side of it. This side as well, where the queue line comes around again on the other side, and also the track actually passes down underneath the bottom of this, which makes a really cool interaction with the queue line, which is why I actually put the queue line going over that part of the track. I think it's important in the game, but also in real life, when you're in a theme park and the queue line or the paths have some sort of interaction with the ride that you're queuing for. Really gets yourself immersed in that theme, in that world. Like I can think of Journey to Atlantis now at SeaWorld. It's got a really cool queue line. You go through different buildings and stuff. The actual building on that ride as well is really awesome, so well themed. But you really get this immersive feeling of being there, and that's what I want to create with this, by having the queue line kind of weave through a little market and then go up and over a bridge over the track where you can see the boats coming around. I think just makes it really interesting for the guests. Like obviously in the game the guests probably don't really realize because it's a game, but in real life I think it would be really cool. And these are the kind of things that I really like to think about when I'm building. You know, having these really cool focal points, having your path layout to have a really good flow. Where the buildings go to me are important. I don't want to make like a saw eye line, or you know, I want to make it really pretty, have a nice flow to it, and also give the guests the best experience they could have in the theme park. So now I'm going on and adding in some windows. Like I said, these little windows from Windows mod are just the best for this, and they're resizable, so I can always do different sizes to change it up a little bit, but they're perfect. They fit so well to the theme and really just break up a plain wall just by adding some windows on. It's so simple sometimes. If you're not sure what to do with a wall because it's looking a bit plain and bare, just add some windows and you'll be fine. So that's looking cool now. I did color that bit blue, which I think looks really cool. It definitely breaks it up from being this one big bland kind of dark brown building. and I've just reshaded that blue there to be a little bit darker, just to give it some contrast with the front pillars, which are more of like a pale blue. But as you can see so far, my design with the buildings have this kind of color palette of these kind of turquoise and blues. So I think that fits in really, really nicely. It's not copying the same colors as the other buildings, but it's definitely tying into that same world. With the other buildings I'm going to build, I'm definitely going to try and keep the color scheme cohesive, but I'm not going to do them all blue. I'm going to dip into some light greens and some burgundies as well, but I'll keep them in the same kind of world so that it all does match. So I'm adding on some more border trims and also some of those fences that I used in the last episode as well. Fences can make some really nice detailing on the side of buildings and stuff. I think I flipped them upside down. I can't remember. But yeah, I use some fences. There's so many different fences in the game, and also in Parkitect mod. Some great fences there if you want to change them up a little bit in your parks. But yeah, I use those as detailing, which is really, really cool. And now I'm adding on like a little building there on the side of the building. Not quite sure, I'm just kind of figuring out some shapes there. Now I'm going to add like a little building here, well a little window, sorry, which is kind of overhanging over the queue line, which makes it really intimate as well when you're queuing up, to have something there hanging over, and also just gives that building a little bit more dynamic so it's not so flat. So that was cool. Now I'm going to focus on doing like one of the market area buildings. So this one's on the diagonal, which makes it always tricky, but I do have Construction Anarchy installed, which helps, and also I have Freedom 2K. If you haven't got that already, you have to get it. It's just the best. You can literally rotate any piece any direction. It's just such a lifesaver sometimes. So I'm doing this building on the diagonal, and this is just going to be like one of the more basic buildings that I'm going to have, and I'm going to use the style of this building a little bit more often throughout the rest of the marketplace. I think it's really cool to find like a building style of the thing that you're doing, and then you can kind of replicate it but change it a little bit each time as you do the rest of the area. So then all the buildings are then cohesive, they all match, and also it's easier to build. Like if you know how to do a certain style, then you can kind of take that style, use it again on another building, but just change up little bits, the colors, or change the roof or the window style. Makes building a lot easier. So that's something I find with every build that I do. Once I found like a color palette and some pieces that I like to use constantly for that style, then building becomes a lot more easier. So the area here underneath the lift hill, it's just going to be like a little kind of area where guests can kind of come under. There'll be a little shop there and a toilet as well. It's not going to be the entrance to the ride or anything because it's kind of hidden, but I thought it was like a really nice little kind of back alley of the market area, and also you get a really cool view there of the coaster kind of coming around behind that building. I'm going to fill in that gap there with some rocks because I wasn't quite sure what else to put in there. So some rocks is cool, some dry shrubbery I'm going to put in there as well, and then the queue line is going to come through this area as well, and I'm going to kind of do like a cattle pen style queue line, do some canopies and stuff, make it look a bit more like the like an alley behind the building that has a market going on or something. But that's the kind of the idea that I'm going for. I also want to make the entrance to the ride quite obvious because you want guests to be able to find it easily, especially in real life. You always want to see a nice big sign for a ride so you know where that ride is and where to enter, because there's nothing worse. I've had it a few times in parks where you want to go on a ride and you just don't know where the entrance is. And I can actually use an example now, which is Energylandia. A great park, really loved it there. Some fantastic rides, but some of the rides in that park just had the most peculiar like setup where the queue line was. Like the ride would be on the right, and then the queue line would be like somewhere way over on the left, and it just, you didn't realize that was to do with that ride or something, and then the exit came up somewhere completely different and was a bit confusing. The only ride that was really obvious was Hyperion. You could definitely see where the entrance was, and yeah, that was easy, but some of the other rides in the park definitely confusing. But I don't know how it is, I haven't been there for a few years. I do hope to return at some point because I want to ride Zadra, and I also want to ride their new Vekoma double launch coaster, which looks really awesome. I have done some custom supports on the water coaster. Ignore them because I hate them, and I'm going to redo all of them at some point. But I don't do that while filming. I do it when I finish the map, and what I like to do is I like to finish a map, and then I leave it for a few days. I don't upload it to Steam or anything. I let it sit, and then I'll go back into it a few days later and then look at it with fresh eyes and see what I don't like, what I do like, and what needs changing. So the supports were something that I really didn't like in this map. I went back and looked at some pictures of real Mack water coasters and then tried to replicate those supports a bit better. I just didn't do them very well. I think I rushed them, to be honest. So I'm just going to finish up this little building here on the front. I'm going to put like an opening in there as well and make this a shop. and then the entrance to the ride is just to the right hand side there. And on that diagonal wall there, I think I'm going to use that as a nice kind of entrance marquee sign for the ride, so I think I'll do that in the next episode. But I've basically got like that building going on the front here. I've done this little piece kind of sticking out with the windows with that little brownie tiled roof, which I think looks really cool. I'm going to use that more often on some of the other buildings as well. Just need to add a little bit more detail to that kind of building because it's a bit plain looking. So I'm going to put some of these like stepped wall pieces, which are vanilla. I'm just going to pop them in there just to kind of give it a little bit more texture. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the queue line and start making that look a little bit better. I have some serious issues with lag with this map. I don't know why, and it seems to happen the worst in scenario editor, and also I'm building in scenario editor because that way I can really build up to the borders and go over the depot. But yeah, the lag's been real bad. Sometimes I don't have it at all, and sometimes I have it. I don't know why. And especially when I'm recording, like with screen recording, that's when my lag is the worst. If I'm playing like not well recording, normally it runs fine, but this map for some reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's one of the mods I have installed, or maybe it's just the fact that my computer's just not having a good time today maybe. But yeah, the lags are all bad, so I do apologize if it's a bit jumpy, but can't do anything about it, so I'm sorry. Here's some screenshots of what I did today, just so you can see without the time lapse going on. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up, and also subscribe if you're not subscribed already. It really does help me out and the channel. And if you want to head over to my Patreon, you can join me there and support me for just €3 a month. And I'll see you all next time for another episode here on my channel. Bye.